G'day guys, Keithy here. Thank you for joining me again. So something a little bit different today. I'm going to review the tyres on this Range Rover here because it's about time for an update anyway. I've had them on for over 3 years now. I've done, I think 65,000 Ks on them so far and rotated them only once. So let's go and have a look at them, see how they're going so far. Oh, if you haven't already, up there, have a go at that. That's Chilling with Keithy. So you can catch up with me there on Facebook. At Chilling with Keithy. If you want to send me messages, post some photos of your own or videos or anything like that. I've had tons of people messaging me. Thank you guys. I try to get to every one of them and I'm pretty sure I have to date. Not necessarily just about the forward driving stuff, but also about the mining, the fly in, fly out stuff. So head on over there, Chilling with Keithy, and say good day. And you get to catch a few things in between these videos as well. I'll chuck a few things up during the week as I can. But otherwise, let's go and have a look at these tyres, see how they've gone after about 70,000 odd Ks, 65,000. So you can see I've loosely got Lieutenant Dan covered up over there. He comes for the drive. Get the bonnet up on the big girl, so what I normally do after a trip, I'll check the oil, check the coolant, make sure the belt's all good, all that kind of stuff, which I have just completed. And I normally walk around and have a look at everything anyway. So before I show you what's going on with these tyres, I'll tell you my tyre pressures that I've run. I've changed it up a bit over the years. So originally I was running about 32 pounds in the front and 40 to 42 in the back. Given that the back of this car is quite heavy, I've got the gas tank, I've got the spare wheel there, the fridge, drawers, you name it, it's all up the back. Even the fuel tank is just underneath that door there on the driver's side. So there's a lot of weight up the back. I run a higher pressure for that reason in the back, just to try and keep that footprint even between the two of them. But what I've found to be optimum pressure in terms of wear and everything else is 29 PSI in the front and 37 PSI in the back. It's about 8 PSI difference, and they're sitting pretty well level in terms of footprint. If you've already seen my video up there on tyre pressures and why they're so important, you'll understand why I do that and how it benefits the longevity of your tyres. So we'll start up here with the right front. These, keep in mind, they've got 70,000 Ks, and the only tyre that hasn't got those kind of Ks is that left front, because it was the spare when I rotated about 10,000 Ks ago. So holding air on these steel rims, no worries at all. I've never popped a bead, and I've let them right down to about 8 PSI on sand. Haven't had any problems with them sticking to the wheels. You can see, as you'd expect when you do some hard forward driving, the sidewalls get little cuts and nicks here and there, which is to be expected. These have stood up reasonably well to that in terms of sidewall. You'll notice a little bit of feathering here on these outer edges. That's probably more to do with my caster angle with the suspension lift that I'm running on this. You can see a little tiny chip there, that's nothing. Got one here, that's a pretty reasonable little bit of meat taken out of that old girl. And that's the same with most of these tyres. They've got little bits of meat taken out here, there and everywhere. All in all, that's not too bad. This tyre has been in this position for the entire time. It has not been rotated from that spot. So then we move on to the right rear. Okay, you can see up here, I'd really like to demonstrate this. Down there, you can see that little chip there. And there's another one in there. There's another few down in here. There's another one up in there. There's quite a few, so you can see there's more in there. I want to show you them. Even down in here, right at the base of the tread blocks. I hope that focuses. I can't see anything because the sun's on the screen. And there's another one just in here. So that's a common theme with these rear tyres only. The rears have done this. I took all of these tyres into my tyre shop after about 5,000 Ks and showed them that. So that happened after 5,000 Ks, so back in 2017. I don't know why. I don't know why I did it. You can see there's a little nick here taken out there as well. Mind you, I punish these things. Now I'm very cautious with my tyre pressures. And I asked the tyre shop, hang on, I'll turn you around if I can. So I asked the tyre shop what that was all about, especially with low Ks on them. There shouldn't be any need to be getting cracks or anything like that. And I think at that stage I hadn't done any real hard forward driving with them, and they said they contacted the BF Goodrich rep and sent him all the photos. They actually pulled the tyres off the car and took photos of them and sent them off, and they said, look, we're going to monitor that. If it gets any worse, we'll sort it out, no worries. But otherwise, their explanation was that it was gravel and rocks getting stuck in between the tread blocks and causing them to contract and reduce as the rocks get ejected and whatnot, and that had just caused a tiny bit of the cutting in there. Personally, I don't think that that's why it happened. It looks to me, and most of them are where the tread block meets the carcass of the tyre. It looks like they're starting to rip, I'll be honest with you, but they haven't got any worse. So now I've done about an extra 60,000 Ks on these tyres since then, and the problem hasn't got any worse. So I'm still keeping my eye on it, but I mean, what life do you expect out of mud terrains anyway? Something I think you might need to know. Let's go back and have a look at the rest of them. So this is the spare that came off the left front. It has about 55,000 Ks on it. I'm just having a look. I can't really see too much on this, but you see there's a couple of little tiny chips in there like that, but there's nothing really to write home about here. Like, again, it's been to Cape York and done a heap of rough, tough four-wheel driving, as you'll see in that off-road video just there. You can see here there's a little chip out of that, but generally very good condition. So that's now my spare from the left front, and this here is your left rear. I apologise. This one has been on here the whole time. Same again. It's had the same 65,000 Ks of punishment as the rest of the tyres. So you can see the sidewall's got scratches and whatnot, and that's what you expect when you use your four-wheel drive off-road. There's nothing too extreme on here that I can point out. There's a tiny little chip out of that. And like I said, with the right rear, there are some little chips taken out. So you can see, I hope you can see that. Just down the bottom there's a little chip out of that. That's probably normal up there, that tiny little chip. But along the base of the tread blocks, you can see those little chips and cuts taken out right at the base there. That one there's a pretty decent one. They've been there for 50,000 Ks, so they haven't got any worse, but I did notice them when the tyres were new. And you can see there's a bit of meat taken out of this tyre here as well. Right there, bit of wear there. All in all, not too bad. There's another one that's fairly decent, little chip out there. Hope you can see that. Well, let's move on to this left front. So this is the one that has been sitting on the back of the car for 55,000 Ks. So it's only done about 10,000 Ks, this one. And you can see it's still got a little knobby in there. It has got a few little chippies taken out of it. Again, it's been used quite hard. There's one right there that now see, when the tyres were new, that only happened on the rear. This tyre has only ever been on the front or on the spare, as the spare, sorry. So there's that right there. That's the only one that I could find just looking around. I haven't actually pulled this tyre off to have a proper inspection of it. So 10,000 Ks, we got a tiny little cut in the sidewall there. That's probably from a lovely stick that I would have hit. And you can see it's rubbed up against the rocks when we were off-roading the other day. It got a bit more of a chip taken out of there. It's not going to affect the longevity of it. These sidewalls, fantastic. So that's the tread. 65,000 kilometers, 70,000 kilometers. I can't remember the exact kilometers I put them on it, but it's around that. This one's only done 10,000. So they've had a hard life, but that's done really well. Yep. All right, so that's the KM3s in terms of wear. And you saw the little tiny chips in there. That was the biggest concern I've had. They haven't got any worse. And like I said, I've only rotated them once in 65 to 70,000 kilometers, so that's pretty decent. I'm not really complaining about that. Noise. They were really quiet when I got them. They're starting to get noisy now, but they're still not as noisy as the old BF Goodrich KM2s that I had previously on my old blue P38, which you can see up there. They were still a really good tyre and they weren't extremely noisy, but now these things are starting to wear, they are starting to get a little bit noisier. As far as ride goes, they're fantastic. The sidewalls on them are so strong that I find I'm letting them down to about 15 PSI for normal off-road type, low range, slow stuff. And then for sand and whatnot, I'm going down to about 8 PSI. They really do handle being let down really well. I've never ever rolled a bead. Obviously, when you let your tyres down, you need to keep in mind that you drop your speed and you also don't do any of those sharp turns or anything like that, unless you've got to get out of the way of a big cow or something. But either way, they have been very good in terms of sidewall strength, in terms of noise. Yeah, getting a little bit noisy now, but in this car I can't hear it unless I've got the windows down because it's soundproof to the max. And longevity, so you can see just there on all of the tyres, including my spare, for tyres that have done that many kilometres, to have that much tread left is unreal. It's unheard of. You know, go back 10 years ago and you wouldn't get that kind of distance out of a set of mud terrain tyres. You get all terrains, you might get 70 to 100,000 Ks. I'm sitting pretty much at 70,000 Ks on these now. And yeah, hard driving, just like that stuff up there. Maytown trip there, that's the kind of stuff that I do all the time. I do that trip twice a year, and on these tyres that would mean I've done that 6 times, which is not correct. It's 5 times, because I only went once this year due to the coronavirus, unfortunately. But what more could you ask for from a set of muddies? They've done a lot of Ks. They're nice and relatively quiet for muddies, although starting to get noisy. They ride well. I found leaving them pretty much at the recommended placard pressures that my manufacturer has said for this Range Rover is the optimum pressure for them, and they haven't given me any dramas. I've never had a flat, I've never had a tyre roll off the bed in all of the time that I've been doing all this harsh off-road. So I do recommend them. Will I get them again? Absolutely I will. I think they're a great tyre, and the best thing is they grip like a mongrel off-road. Mud, sand, and anything that I've thrown at them. Dirt roads, they handle fantastic on the dirt roads. And in the mud, you let them down to 15 psi like I do, and I haven't had a problem. They just kick the mud up. I'll show you in a second a picture of the side of this Range Rover. But otherwise, guys, thank you for tuning in for this little review on my tyres to see how they've gone. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I've got heaps of stuff coming along. Go back and have a look through my past stuff if you want. Hopefully we get better, and hopefully I'll see you again. Thanks for coming along for the ride, guys. See you next time. Stay safe.